This is Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network, and I am your host, Mark. And today's guest is an entrepreneur par excellence. Welcome, founder of Rhino Records and Shout Factory, Richard Foos. We go back to Richard's early days and find out how music became so important to him. He talks about his early attempts in the record business and how that eventually evolved into Rhino Records. He then tells how Rhino Records, the record store, became Rhino Records, the record label. We talk about how Rhino single-handedly created the reissue market and how it evolved to include bonus material and how they find that stuff. He sold Rhino and used the same formula with his next venture, Shout Factory, but turning the focus to TV and movies, including my favorite, Mystery Science Theater 3000. He sold Shout Factory and is now focusing on nonprofit work and a possible podcast. Keep an ear out for that. So follow us at Performance ANX and check out performanceanx.threadless.com for our merch, or just send some money to ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety so I can buy coffee. And please enjoy this chat with Richard Foos on Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network.
All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Richard Foos, the co-founder of Rhino Records, and I'm so happy to be on the Performance Anxiety. And you make us feel so comfortable. I have no anxiety. Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. How are you doing?
Good.
Oh, excellent. Oh, excuse me. Something just flew into my eye. Oh, boy. All right. Well, all right. Now that I can see you, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Sure.
All right. Well,
where are you?
I am in Winchester, Virginia.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Is it near Staunton, Virginia?
About, I want to say an hour and a half.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're a little northwest.
Okay.
So.
I say it was my favorite band of all time resides there. Favorite group, the Statler Brothers.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. My son.
And they retired and I never saw them live. It's one of my big regrets.
Oh, no. Oh, man.
They were the only band group. Both two of my favorite, couldn't be more different, fake bands, the Ramones and the Statler Brothers, both retired and never played. They're the only groups that were true to their words and really retired.
Yeah.
And they did a retirement tour. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, man.
Now, a lot of it was because all the Ramones died. So.
Yeah. that speeds retirement along.
Yeah.
It's funny. My wife and my son were actually in Stanton a couple of days ago, actually. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
I always dream, because I think 3 of the 4 are still alive, and I always dream, okay, anywhere they play, if they ever, but they retired in 1999. I don't think they're coming back.
Maybe we can get her to do a karaoke night somewhere in Stanton, though.
Okay, all right.
We'll work on that.
All right, work on it.
Most of my guests are related to music somehow, and you are no exception. Although I think you come at it from a slightly different angle from many of my guests, but I do want to find out a little bit about your early life. I mean, why did music become so important to you? Was it a big presence in your house growing up, or was there something else?
It was out of complete and total boredom. I was 11 years old. We had just moved from where I'd been most of my life, wonderful suburban community outside Philadelphia, great school, and I go and, now I'm entering junior high. I know 0 people in a new city, and it's urban, Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Pittsburgh, and it's unfriendly, it's rough, and everybody, I was there, 5 years, till thank God I got out. And
I've heard that a lot about Pittsburgh.
Never could figure out anything to do. We were bored out of our minds, and teenagers, and so we do not horrible things, but minor juvenile delinquent, playing cards, getting drunk. Drugs weren't accessible, nor did we know about them then. They hadn't come up. So I just got so addicted to music, and I would rush home every Friday to listen to the top 40, rooting for my favorite songs. Come on, I hope this song I like gets to number one, and all that. And I just did a deep, deep, deep dive and never looked back.
Man. So did playing music ever come into the picture? Were you ever interested in did you ever learn an instrument? Yeah,
I played bass. It was just so easy to play 3-chord rock songs on bass that I just declared myself a bass player. And we're in bands, but what I've learned looking back is that if you look, rock bands were over kind of by the end of the 60s. Yeah. And you look at the early 70s and what was on the charts, and so many rock bands couldn't even get arrested. Even big bands couldn't get arrested. They'd fallen out of favor. And I didn't form a band till the end of high school. There weren't even thought of forming a band. And by that time, you're 5, 6, 7 years behind. 10 years behind the Beatles. They started in 1957.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be a successful rock band starting in 1967 or 68 or whatever. So that was off the table. So I did the next best thing, have a record store.
So I want to, how did you, well, before we get into that, so music, you decided early was not the career, a working musician was not the career for you. So what did you just think about when, like you said, you started a record store, but was that the goal?
I started thinking about doing something in music, like even at the beginning of college. We somehow got this idea. My first record business was called Mojo Records.
Okay.
And we got this idea, me and my friend, that we would do a delivery service. We had a car, and we would so we just started calling randomly in the phone book, promoting ourselves as Mojo Records. We loved the song. Our favorite song was "I Got My Mojo Working" by Muddy Waters, and so we were Mojo Records, and we were able to one of the things we did was we would go to the local drugstore that sold records, mm-hmm. and we put 5 or 6 new records inside a Monopoly game that we bought for $2. And if somebody called up and wanted an album we had our entire inventory was maybe 20 records, but if they called up and wanted something we didn't have, we would go try to exchange it at a record store, and sometimes they would let us do it. It was not an efficient way to, we did it for a few months, and then I dropped that till I got out of college. And then luckily, 7 or 8 things happened in my life that pointed my way to that maybe I could eke out a living with a record store. And it started out, a friend of mine's family owned a surplus electronics store that some people thought the father was mobbed up because nobody ever came in the store. It was in a mall that became the hottest mall in the country, but at the time, the entire mall might have had 2 stores open, and we were one of them.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
So he let me put in a bin of used records, and that was my first retail record experience. And then in those days, even in LA, in a nice part of LA, rent was $150 a month for a little store.
Oh, wow.
And that I could get.
Yeah.
So I just started a record store, Rhino Records, and threw in some used records. I would buy records. Remember the record clubs, like Columbia Record Club? They would advertise 20 records for a penny.
Oh, yeah.
But then they'd make you buy 20 records at full retail.
Oh, yeah.
And try to scare you.
Yeah.
Really aren't going to, I was, 21 years old. They're not going to, arrest me. So I had all my friends buy 20, I got about 100 records for a nickel.
Oh, nice.
So that was my new inventory, and I was off and running with a used record store. And then from there, we started putting out kind of novelty records, 45s, and eventually albums.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And just things happened that pointed the way to what we loved doing and what we thought we could do really well and was easy to do because we had no competition, was reissue records. Reissue records that we grew up in, that were out of print, and that we loved.
All right, so I want to dive into that a little bit. First of all, is there any significance to picking the name Rhino? Is there, or was it just a name you liked?
I called my small handful of friends. This is before the record store. I'm opening a record store, and we're going to sit here in this restaurant and just spout names. And we're going to do it for hours until everybody, light bulbs go off, and somebody said Rhino, and we all go, that's it! It sounded nice. Good, and that's how we picked Rhino.
Okay, all right. So how long did it take to go from the bit in the electronics store to your own storefront?
Record store?
Yeah.
It's about maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
Wow, that's pretty quick.
Yeah, and I kind of always wanted to do my own record store and did it, but the first year was really hard. So the worst day of my life might have been one day. I was full because the first couple weeks, my friends would come in and they'd tell a few other people, and they'd buy some records, and that was it.
Right.
So after doing okay for 2 weeks, I thought, this is easy. Then I started getting like literally 5 customers a day, and I was really struggling. And I was sitting there by myself. I was open 11 to 7. I wanted to have a little bit of a life, so I was open 11 to 7. So I figured then I could go out, go home, take a shower, go out. And so one day I was sitting there the whole day, and not one person came in. At 6 o'clock, the first customer comes in, walks in and says, which way is Wilshire Boulevard?
Oh.
For directions.
Oh, no.
And luckily, I didn't have a firearm because...
I'll tell you, if by record, I'll tell you.
Lowest of low. And then, but eventually, people started finding out about it. We were very unique in what we did, and had amazing people to work with me. Some were high school students, but just to give you an example of the 3 high school students that were all music fanatics. One of them's the guitarist in Wilco.
Wow.
One of them became general manager of Warner Records, and one of them runs the best bookstore in LA. So.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and then my partner at Rhino, Harold, came in. He had been working at the post office, and he said, "Hey, can I have a part-time job?" I go, "Sure." And then he became my partner in the label.
Oh, wow. Okay. So how did it transform from a record store into a record label?
It started out, we just saw Harold, who became my partner, and our true love was 45s.
Okay.
and growing up, LPs weren't a thing yet.
Right.
We were just fascinated by all the different colored labels, and it was our dream to actually put out your own record. And so maybe 3 years into the record store, we decided, let's record a promotional 45 for our store. And we had I would say a human mascot for our store. It was a singer named Wildman Fisher, who was this very esoteric, eclectic street singer who Frank Zappa had found. He was always on the streets of LA, hanging out at the whiskey and at the beach, and they all knew him. And Frank Zappa did what people think is the first ever double album with Wildman Fisher in 1970 when he started his own label, Bizarre Records.
Okay.
And it was a flop, but everybody who worked at the store had bought the record, and we loved Wild Man because he was so eccentric. And so he would come in the store, and we were the only store that wouldn't kick him out. We were like worshipped him, and he was living on the streets. He was like an early unhoused.
Oh, wow.
So we had him record a jingle for our store. He made it up on the spot.
Go to Rhino Records on Westwood Boulevard. Go to Rhino Records on Westwood Boulevard. They have nice people there. They'll show you where the records are. Where are the records? They're over there. They're all over the place. Go to Rhino Records on Westwood Boulevard. Go to Rhino Records on Westwood Boulevard. You can get Herb Albert and...
We had him recorded on a cheap cassette, pressed it up as a record, gave it away free, and Harold, my partner, sent it to was a rock writer, sent it to the biggest DJ in England, who played it, and it became like a minor hit on his show. And
wow.
Virgin Records had just started. They were just a distributor. They ordered 1,000 records. We go, oh my God, we're in business.
Oh man.
And so we just started putting out 45s, mostly novelty records that we would write and record ourselves. We had a little minor hit with something I created called the Temple City Kazoo Orchestra, doing a Whole Lot of Love.
Oh my God.
The Zeppelin song, and the local underground radio station K-Rock played it. We sold 15,000 records, which we couldn't believe.
Oh my gosh.
That for us was like a platinum record. And yeah. And so, and then eventually we put our first album out with Wild Man. It sold a little bit, enough to put out our second record.
Okay.
And then we got the idea of, basically all the, if it wasn't the Beatles, Stones, Zeppelin, et cetera, all the music we had grown up was out of print.
Okay.
And we said, and record companies were willing to license to us. And they would license us songs of artists that you wouldn't believe. So
really,
the best example might be James Brown. The record company, the wisdom in those days, if you can believe it, was once this life cycle of a record or a song was, it's a hit for a couple months, it's off the charts. Maybe you do an album would have 2 or 3 of the artist's hits and then a bunch of other songs, and it would sell for a while and then stop selling, out of print, gone forever, never reissued. And
wow.
There weren't oldies records radio stations. There weren't very many used records. There was really nowhere to buy music once it wasn't a hit anymore.
Wow.
So Brown, 100% of James Brown's records were out of print, except for his new record. This is 1978.
Okay.
70, except for his new record, which he wasn't having hits anywore.
Right.
So selling. Everything else was out of print, and we went to Polygram Records, which soon thereafter sold to Universal, and was able to put out a James Brown Greatest Hits.
Wow.
It sold tremendously, and then a few years later, CDs became the dominant configuration, and they licensed us CDs on James Brown Greatest Hits. We sold hundreds of thousands, and eventually they realized, why are we licensing it to them? We can do it ourselves, and they did. But we sold hundreds of thousands, and it took the record companies many years from when we started, the major labels, to realize that people care about the past. They want to buy the records they grew up on. Yeah. They had no idea. They had no idea. They were just into having hit records.
That's incredible. I grew up, born in 73. So whenever music first started making an impact, maybe 10 or around 10. And I remember getting Rhino catalogs in the mail. And so there really never, for me, there really wasn't a time that I remember where the music wasn't available. But that was basically all thanks to Rhino Records.
And other companies started reissuing their records and doing compilations.
Yeah.
And, they saw how well we were doing, and they were, copying what we were doing. But it's just hard to imagine that once a record, there weren't oldies radio. There might have been one oldies radio station, and that wasn't until the mid to late 70s. And they would play a very strict playlist of hits. Each artist might have one or two songs. And maybe the hit record stations once an hour, and they'd say, "A blast from the past."
Yeah.
Like one song from the past that wasn't a current hit. And there was no other way to get old music. If you did, your best bet was if you had an older brother and they would pass down what they thought were crappy old records to you.
Yeah.
That was your best bet. Otherwise, it was lost. Lost forever,
Yeah, I mean, at best, if you went to
Not
like
forever, so we started reissuing, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the best you could hope for that was going to a flea market or something, because there weren't used sections in the record stores either.
Right, exactly. Going to a flea market and hoping to find
whatever you're looking for.
Name the band, that wasn't the Beatles or Stones or Who or Zeppelin.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Kings, we can name big bands where everything was out of print.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that I always remember about the catalogs that we would get in the mail were the really wild, neat compilations like Cool Yule and stuff like that, but also the Dr. Demento compilations. Right. So how did he get involved? How did that whole thing happen?
We were giant. Where my partner and I was a little older than my partner, and Harold, and I loved the music of the 50s more than the 60s. He loved the 60s, but where we totally came together was Novelty Records. And up through, I'm going to say the mid 70s, there was always, in the top 40, one novelty song, and that's where we loved it. And then in the early 70s, when we had, FM radio, Dr. Demento started, who only played novelty music. And we were gigantic fans. So when we started putting out records, we said, let's, do compilations of Dr. Demento's greatest novelty songs. So we did a number of, we did a 20th anniversary, 25th, 30th anniversary. And we loved Dr. Demento, got to know him as a person, loved him as a person. And, I still see him, once in a while. And, he was just a normal, sweet, regular guy that had this alter ego that was crazy, goofy. And he was a gigantic music historian. He knew everything about, he had hundreds of thousands of records, 78s, going back to the 20s, and he was just an archivist and musicologist. So
that's incredible. So Rhino kind of kickstarted this whole reissue culture, and to me at the beginning it was just straight reissues. Because it's evolved into remastering, remixing, bonus material, extra liner notes, photos. And I remember some of that happening with the Monkees, because my brother is an enormous fan of the Monkees. And that was one of the first things he ever got. Was he went to the Rhino catalog and ordered all the remastered Monkees stuff. When did that really start to happen?
Well, right from the beginning, you have to remember, I think the whole problem with the record industry is that it was old men, running the companies and making music that they liked. They didn't even like rock and roll, all the major companies, so they didn't know it and whatever. And so they didn't really know how to package it correctly for rock fans. So if you look at the first Who album in the U.S., it was on Decca Records.
Right.
And at the in the back of and they wouldn't have real liner notes. They'd have like the tracks and whatever. But there'd be an advertisement at the bottom, and it said, "If you like this record, you're sure to like other Decca records." And all the other records were Henry Mancini, New York Philharmonic doing Beethoven.
Well, you're sure to love this.
Right. If you love the Who, our generation, you're going to love these songs that only your parents like.
From the previous generation. Yeah.
Right. That's how clueless they were.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
So when I'll use an example. So, the Kinks were on Warner Brothers, and most of the bands, most groups follow the same arc of, they have some hits, they have a couple albums, they have some hits, and then they stop having hits.
Yeah.
Through yesterday's news. And of course, the first thing the record companies would do is put out a greatest hits album. But they didn't even really know, they didn't know that for the Kinks in Pittsburgh, there's a song, I Need You, that was on an early album that was like, that became a local hit, a gigantic hit. So if you bought, and you don't know in Pittsburgh that it's not a hit nationally.
Yeah.
So you get your hard-earned money and you buy the Kinks' greatest hits. Your favorite song is I Need You, and it's not on it. So anyway, they were very unset. And of course, even on the Warner Brothers records, if you like this record, you're sure to like Sammy Davis Jr., Martin, Frank Sinatra, Paul Martin. So when we started doing reissues and best ofs, we said we knew what we wanted, so we mastered it from the original tapes. We would find the greatest expert. If we didn't know the artist backwards and forward, we'd find the expert on it. We'd find somebody else who knew the most about it to write the liner notes. Okay. And we were editing everything, and we'd find rare photos, and so we would get the best experience for, if it's James Brown's greatest hits, you're going to get the greatest hits. You're going to get a couple great obscurities, and you're going to you're going to have a great fan experience, and that's what we cared about. So we're fans making records for fans.
Yeah, and I love that. And the question that I've always had, and I'm not sure anybody's answered this, so perhaps you can. When you're putting these compilations together, or if it's like a reissue of an album and it's got bonus material like demos of a track or unreleased tracks, or where do those come from? How do you find those? Are they in the studio archives, or
yes.
And how do you find them? Are they cataloged somewhere?
Well, I don't know how. I can't speak for today because I haven't done this for 15 years or whatever.
Okay.
The record companies would let us go into the vaults, and we go, our recording genius, Bill Inglot, would, listen to tapes. There might be an unmarked tape box next to, I don't know, a Loving Spoonful masters.
Okay.
And he'll say, wow, there's some of these tracks here. But that, when we were putting out again a Loving Spoonful album, they had tons of hits.
Yeah.
On the CD, maybe you can fit 20 songs. 18 of them would be hits, and we'd find, one rare song, one, maybe a commercial they did.
Yeah.
Something like that. But we weren't the true record nerd guys. We were the hits guys that would also say, and they had a few other great records that should have been hits.
Yeah.
We weren't finding the rare, or interested in putting the rare demo and doing a Loving Spoonful rarities, because that would have sold. That would be for 1,000 giant hardcore fans.
Yeah.
We were trying to go for the 100,000 fans that just love their music, but and I say that what set us different than crate digging record nerds was that occasionally my partner and I could get a date. And so, we weren't necessarily, we loved music. We listened to it all the time. We wanted to find the best songs by every group, but we weren't about to go into basements and dig through crates. We didn't go to swap meets garage sales on our weekends. And, that just wasn't who we were. And we were able, by not being those guys, we were able to connect to music fans and have a much larger audience.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's still a business. So you got to appeal to the.
It's a business, and we were doing what we love, and what we loved was not finding rare B-sides with white labels and things like that. Even though we appreciated those people and we didn't want to alienate them, but it just wasn't who we were, and we were doing it, at business and passion.
Is there one release that it could be either an album or being able to work with this artist's discography? Is there one that you're most proud of or most excited about that you look back on and say, this was awesome?
My partner and I shared a favorite band growing up, Love, the group Love.
Yeah.
And we were able to work with the leader of Love, Arthur Lee, and get to know him and hang out with him a little. We didn't really want to hang out with him that much.
Yeah. I've heard stories. I had Lyle Heisen on a couple of years ago who played with him in the 90s when he was touring. His band Das Damen was the backing band. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's stories that I hope aren't true.
Don't listen to Lyle's episode.
Anyway, we were able to put out a best of Love and reissue Forever Changes, and so that is just was heaven to me to be able to do that with a band that was never got its just due,
right,
and was just incredible. I still listen to their music all the time and can't believe how amazing it is.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And then one other, because you had mentioned the Monkees. So a lot of times we appeared like geniuses after the fact. Because, we loved them. I love the Monkees, and all their music was out of print.
Yeah.
And so we licensed all 9 of their albums, put them all out at the same time, and lo and behold, at the same time, it was just pure luck. It was their 20th anniversary, and they had a big tour that blew up, and their their shows were shown on MTV, and they became the biggest watch shows in the history of MTV. So all 9 records entered the Billboard charts at the same time. Never before, even the Beatles had never had 9 albums in the Billboard charts at the same time. So,
I didn't realize that. Holy crow.
Your brother, who bought them all, helped get them. And they were in the kind of the lower end of the chart, so they weren't selling hundreds of thousands of records a week like a giant hit record, but they were enough to get it in the top 200.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember my mom had their first album, and when we were little, she just kind of gave it to us, and we just played that thing to death, and it really stuck. I love that first album, and I never, until later on, I didn't really get into their other albums just because to me it was a TV show. I didn't realize, Mike Nesmith is an amazing musician. I had, no inkling of that, but my brother caught on.
Mickey Dolenz was an amazing singer, had a great voice.
Yeah.
And
And so with each successive reissue with more and more bonus material, my brother would end up giving me the older versions. So I think I've got the whole Rhino Monkees catalog over. Oh, you can't see it right now, but on my wall of CDs over there. But so I got them by default, and he just keeps buying them every time they come out with something. So So he has loved Rhino's entire catalog. So the next question I have is more recently. How do you think has streaming helped the world of reissues? Is it a good thing for it? Or is it a bad thing? Or do you think it has any effect on reissued music?
Well, nobody ever could have predicted vinyl coming back like it did. It was absolutely amazing. So when streaming started, we just thought, okay, that's going to be the only marketplace. Physical goods are pretty much over.
Right.
We'll ride out the CD boom, and it was not good for us at this point. We'd sold Rhino to Warner's. We had another company, Shout Factory,
right?
That we started, and we were licensing from the majors, but they weren't giving us digital rights. So we actually ended up actually going out of the music business, and we were just focused doing the same thing with television and film, and had some amazing reissues there, similar to music. But I love, it's sort of like the end of compilations, and I don't really, with Rhino, we were able, if we did, whatever the genre was, we were able to put out the definitive music. We'd find, it was our opinion, but we'd find the best expert on blues, and we put out a series of blues compilations that were, but now, who's the authority? To learn about, I don't know, there's no definitive authority on a genre of music that you might want to, and if you go to YouTube, it's so disorganized. So if you put in an artist, it could be a live song, it could be a video, it could be
an interview with them.
Yes. So there's no curation, which is really a shame. But for those who are willing to dig, I'm in love with, I'll remember an artist who had one minor hit, and then I'll find 20 more songs by that artist. So it's endless, digging. And so, I think it's great. And now when we started, maybe 10% of music was from the past. Now it's 80%.
Wow, it's that high.
So,
oh my gosh. So you mentioned Shout Factory. So you moved from music into TV and films with Shout Factory. Is it kind of a similar path where you're working with older TV shows and movies?
Really the same thing. And there were the same opportunities. A lot was because where we really shined was there were many, when we started, there wasn't streaming, so that you could see a show broadcast, but that was the whims of the broadcaster,
right?
Or VHS, DVD. DVD was pretty much the one configuration when we started, but many of the people's favorite shows, particularly ones with a lot of music, were either not in print because the studios that owned the shows didn't want to pay the enormous fees. So the first program that we put out when we started Shout Factory was Freaks and Geeks.
That's one of my favorite shows. I love that show.
And it had never been seen since it was only on one season, but it had 100 gigantic hit songs. And nobody dared to try to go and clear every one of them. And we said, we'll do it. And we did it.
Wow.
And put out Freaks and Geeks and on DVD, we could put in on, interviews with the cast, commentaries, outtakes, all that, just throw in all this great material and again, give this amazing fan experience. Yeah, one of the most interesting ones we did was WKRP. It had come out. It was like the rare TV show that was about a radio station that used a fake radio station, but they used real music. And that was one of the great things about the show, that people could hear great songs.
Yeah.
But when the studio put out the DVD, they didn't want to pay for clearing the music, so they did fake music.
Oh my God.
They let us relicense it, and we were able to restore the original real music.
Wow. Oh, the one I remember, the one that sticks out to me was when Johnny Fever was talking to the owner. I can't remember his character, but he was reading the lyrics to "Imagine" by John Lennon. How do you can't substitute that with anything else.
Right, do a phony song,
Yeah. So
yeah.
Has there been same thing that I asked about Rhino? Has there been a project for Shout that you're really thrilled that you got a chance to work on?
Yeah, certainly those two, but one that we just love because it was just such a great show. And again, we were able to rescue it from obscurity. Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yes. That I watched that not since its inception, because it was from
the perfect age.
Yeah, my dad found it one day and he's like, you guys have got to watch this. And so from like the mid to late, mid 80s or so until now I watch it. My kids have watched it because I got a whole bunch of the DVDs and it was on a couple channels. And I've introduced my kids to it, and the entire family loves Mystery Science Theater and Riff Tracks and every offshoot that they've done.
Right. And this was just a very tough project because I guess the show had been on for about 10 years or so, and a lot of the cast members weren't talking to each other. The owner of the show wasn't talking to Joel Hodgkin, the creator. So we had to go and mend all these to get in the middle of this hornet's nest. It took a number of years to sort out, but we were able to buy it from the owner, who was the general manager of the station, of the public access station where the show originated from.
Wow.
It's the weirdest, strangest story, I think, in broadcast history, that this was how successful this was. Anyway, so we did it in conjunction with Joel Hodgkins, the creator, and we got enough of the cast together and some new cast to reboot the show, and we financed it from a Kickstarter campaign where we raised $6 million. It was still the most successful Kickstarter media campaign in history.
Oh my!
We were able to do 14 new shows, rebooting it, 20 years later.
Right.
And we got it on Netflix, and then we did a second season, and we're still doing, Kickstarter campaigns and, working on doing new shows. I
mean, you've hit some of the greatest things ever. I mean, Monkeys, and now Love.
We reissued them.
Yeah, MST3K. So you've hit some of my favorite things on the planet with what you're doing. So I am hugely grateful for your work because I get a chance to share some of the amazing music with my kids too, and some of the amazing TV shows with my kids, like MST3K. We will sit there and watch 2 or 3 episodes in a row, and then what I think a lot of people end up doing, I know we do it in my family now, is we start MST3King regular TV shows that we're watching, and we'll just. So my wife yells at us constantly because she'll put on, and I'm just gonna pull this out of there because I know she used to watch this Grey's Anatomy, and we'll just like rip into it.
Oh, I love it.
And she'll be like, "Stop MST3King this show! I want to actually watch it." so then we have to go to another room and do something else so she can watch her show. But you're currently consulting with Shout Factory.
We merged with another company.
Okay.
Rise, and we're now called Radial, and still doing really the same things. And we just got the made a deal to reissue the Conan O'Brien show, his TBS show.
Oh, nice.
And so we're still doing that. And I'm now a consultant. I'm not involved at all in the day-to-day, but still doing, great stuff. And, I've moved over to doing nonprofit work. And
yeah, I saw that. I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. Is that with the Narrative Method and the Volunteer Collective?
correct.
Okay.
Those are what I mainly work on, but I'm on other boards and I help wherever I can. And I mentor some kids.
Oh, wow.
I just, try at this point in my life to give back because I've been very lucky, and I feel like now's the time to give back, and I don't need to like go to another, I don't know, a vacation or
Yeah. Well, you want to work.
I still see rock and roll, but not a lot.
Okay.
I see tons of shows and et cetera. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, I may have to reach out to you because I put out a compilation album several months ago for a charity, and I'm trying to figure out how to get the companies to allow me to do a physical product because they only allow me to do it streaming. It's
oh my God!
It's just
it's the other way around.
Well, I apologize. I can't do streaming. Actually, I can't do streaming or physical product. The only thing I'm allowed to do is downloads.
Oh, jeez.
But it's for a charity, so it's
And is it major label songs or?
It's the songs of Spinal Tap. So.
Oh my God!
I got 34 different artists most of them were podcasts.
These are new recordings.
Yeah, they all did covers of Spinal Tap songs, and we released it for Teen Cancer America, which you mentioned. The Who is the Who's charity.
Yes. I've actually I've seen the Who 4 or 5 times.
Oh, wow.
In the neighbor's backyard doing that annual benefits for that charity.
Oh, awesome.
I think the Who maybe finally really retired. Their like 15th or 20th retirement tour. Where they do a tour every year, or Roger Daltrey's band would play every year, and there'd be 4 other bands, and it was amazing. But you should, if these are new recordings, you don't need any rights. You can do it.
Oh.
I can help you. I'll help you outside of the podcast.
I appreciate that. I'll stay in touch.
Yeah, I can help you with all of that.
So you mentioned some of the things that you're currently working on. I did also read that there might be a podcast in the works for you.
Yeah, I'm working on a podcast.
Awesome.
It's I love. I produced a music doc some years ago called "Born in Chicago," and it was the story of bored like me adolescents in the 60s in Chicago, and they went across the tracks. They were young musicians, and they met Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, who basically adopted them. And as they said, we didn't like our parents, so they became our super parents. And it was Steve Miller, Paul Butterfield, Mike Bloomfield. So it's the story of how they did that. And
oh, wow.
What happened to them. Yeah.
That's incredible.
But it just takes so long to do music docs, and nobody's looking for them unless it's the Beatles or Stones or something.
Yeah.
And Zeppelin. And so I want to do interesting music docs, so I'm hoping to do them as podcasts.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Quicker and cheaper. And
yeah. That's very true. My podcast is very cheap to do.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm going to get some information. We'll share information about how I'll help you distribute your album, and you can help me with learn about the podcast world.
That's a deal.
Okay.
In fact, I know a pretty good podcast network that would love to talk with you.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, is there anything that we missed? I mean, I know you mentioned that you're working with.
Well, I'll talk about what I'm doing today. And so music for me was like everything I did wrapped around it. So I got, really into the 60s lifestyle and culture, and music was just so important. and all of the movement is important to the movements and important to our lives, to rebellion. But part of the ethos was that, we're all in this together in the world. We have to help each other and give back. And that's what I do today. And I work on projects. My wife does something called the Narrative Method, and it's daily Zooms, mostly for free, with diverse people, all exploring their creativity and connecting with each other. And it's so kumbaya, 60s, love fest. So
that's awesome.
I urge everybody to look up the Narrative Method and join us.
We could use a little bit more of that.
Yes, absolutely. More than ever.
And you also mentioned the Volunteer Collective.
Yeah, and that's where we try to promote and curate volunteer opportunities around working with the underserved. So food banks, tutoring, things like that.
Oh, wow.
That's LA County based. But the Narrative Method is for the world. We get people from mostly North America, but once in a while we had somebody from China the other day.
Oh, wow.
With just enough English to do it.
So how do you find the Narrative Collective? How do you reach that?
Narrative Method?
The Narrative Method. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just www.narrative. Narrative Method. Just go to thenarrativemethod.org.
Okay, awesome.
And join us on the salon sometime.
I will definitely.
We sometimes have great guests. We've had Jane Fonda. We had Tommy Chong, Lorraine Newman.
Wow.
Ken Burns. So we often have great guest salons. So.
Oh, that is incredible. I will definitely be looking that up. That's so awesome. Well, Richard, it's been so wonderful connecting with you and talking with you and learning about how this whole reissue culture really started, because it was something that didn't really exist until you guys decided it needed to. And I thank you for that, because some of the best music on the world would have been lost without you guys. So thank you.
It was my pleasure. It was fun to do. And, if it has lasting legacy, thank God.
My girlfriend left me. I was feeling real down. My friend said, let's go to a record store. I asked him where the cheapest store in town. Rhino, hey, the place to go. 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 Went to Moby Disc, couldn't take the risk. Went to Field of Zad, but the selection there was bad. Rhino Records. Yeah,